The race that we did was the Run for the Lakes. So we rounded the corner and I saw a man laying on the ground. As we get closer, I had heard somebody from behind me who had been behind me the entire half marathon race say, "Dad, Dad." And so then we started running faster. When I got up to Kurt, he was laying on the ground. He was unconscious. He was purple. Rolled him on his back. I could not find a pulse, so I ended up starting CPR immediately.
I saw Melissa up ahead. She was starting CPR, and so I started sprinting. You know, the adrenaline kicks in, and all of a sudden I have energy. And I remember screaming, "Call 911, somebody call 911." And I was pointing at somebody, "You need to call 911.
I remember Kim coming up and saying, "Can I help?" And we just started counting out CPRs, doing 30 to 2 chest compressions with 2 breaths. She jumped right in, and you just automatically snap into action. We were probably doing chest compressions for about 15 minutes before the ambulance arrived. It was probably 10-ish minutes before an officer arrived with an AED, and then we hooked up the AED, but he was in a non-shockable rhythm, so we just continued chest compressions.
It felt like so long before help arrived, and I remember thinking, why isn't anybody stopping to help? All these runners were passing us, and I was getting so tired, and my knees were really hurting. We were kneeling on the pavement, and
by the time the ambulance arrived, Kurt came conscious again. He obviously doesn't remember any of it, but he was breathing on his own when he had a good pulse and a strong rhythm.
We helped get him on the stretcher. They loaded him in the ambulance. And you know, Melissa and I were standing there. We're like, well, I guess we'll go finish the race. She finished ahead of me. She was waiting for me at the finish line. We had never met before, but you know, at the finish line we hugged, and just the whole experience, I just started sobbing. I felt like I needed some closure. So we ended up looking at the race times, and so there were only 2 people that didn't finish the race that day, Kurt and his wife, Lisa. I contacted his wife on Facebook Messenger just to try to see how he was doing. We've stayed in contact.
The whole time I was running, I was probably having a heart attack. Eventually, I think what had happened is that my blood flow just wasn't enough to keep my heart beating, and I went into cardiac arrest. The race was on a Saturday. On Tuesday is probably that I heard that some people had given me CPR. My wife told me that they had come along shortly after my heart had stopped beating on the race and had performed CPR for me. My view towards life has changed a little bit, just really appreciating family, friendship, new friends like Kim and Melissa for sure. There's no question that Kimberly and Melissa are heroes. I mean, they're heroes not only on that day, but my guess would be that they're heroes every day that they're in their hospitals working as well.
CPR training is invaluable. You don't know when you're going to need it. Whether it's your child or a loved one or a complete stranger out on the running field, it's important to know the basics of life-saving measures. It's an honor to be called a hero, but at the time it didn't feel like we were doing anything heroic. It felt like we were just doing what we had to do. We are running the 10K at the Run for the Lakes all together this year. Kurt's family is joining us, his wife Lisa and his children, and Melissa and I, and we're all very excited. It's going to be very special for us to run and finish together this year. Melissa and I wanted to give him our finishing medals from the race last year. He didn't get one.
I didn't quite make the finish.
So.
Thank you.